15th century England was a time when kings reigned, religious wars were fought, and knights in armor battled for victory. Centuries later, and England is a very different place, and the image of knights in armor feels more fitted for fairy tales than history. It is interesting to think how the standard battle protection for men would one day become one of the most widely recognized Halloween costumes. Traveling back during the 15th century, one of the most notorious kings in history reigned, Henry VIII, who is mostly known for never being happy for long with any of his 6 wives. Henry liked to achieve and have what his counterparts in other countries did. This was no exception in his choice of armor, which he wanted to be fashion-like the ones of his European counterparts. So he sought to have high-quality sport and war pieces made for himself without having to make the trip abroad. To achieve this, the armor would need to be made as garniture, which is a type of armor that has removable parts that are interchangeable for battle and tournaments. Eventually, he convinced some expert armorers to relocate to England to make not only his armor, but the armor for his whole court as well. In 1511, 2 years after Henry became king, the royal workshops at Greenwich officially began, and they would provide England with their armor for over 100 years. One of the expert armorers at Greenwich was German artist Hans Holbein the Younger, who worked at Greenwich from 1526 to 1528. During his time there, he is credited for designing a piece of armor garniture that is the earliest dated and surviving armor to come out of Greenwich royal workshops. The piece of armor garniture is presumed to have been made for Henry VIII, who then presented it to French ambassador François de la Tour-d'Avoy, who was on a diplomatic mission in London in 1527. It is unknown exactly why Henry gave away this piece of armor, but nevertheless, it was out of his hands, and François had it until his death in 1532, where it was presumed the armor was passed to Glot de Gimbenac, who was the Grand Master of Artillery and Horse in France and a close friend of François. It was then given to the Metropolitan Museum of Art by his descendants at an unknown time, and it has resided there ever since. Armor may not be worn anymore except as a costume, but every single piece of it has a fascinating story to tell.